the price would not have changed from the time you had purchased these things if there was no value addition.
Now, is VAT transferable? Supposing taking into consideration all the processes have gone to and arriving at a price, let's say my calculator should cost $480, and I sell this calculator at $490, making my $10 a profit. If I sell it to Mr. Mahmoud Toure, a retailer at the Serekunda market, will he charge VAT?
Well, you know, I like this question for the simple reason that, you know, it's important for the general public to understand that VAT is not meant for every business that is operating in the country. You have to be registered. That gives you, once you are registered, that gives you the legal mandate to be able to charge VAT. So it doesn't mean that everybody that runs a stall, every, you know, corner shop in this country should charge VAT. VAT, that is why we have a threshold of 1 million for mandatory registration. If your sales of goods and services that are taxable reaches 1 million, you are required to register.
Now you're telling me who charges VAT?
Exactly. So it's all linked to that, because you cannot come to the issue of, you know, how to call it, the charging of VAT without linking it to registration. One has to be registered. Once you are registered, then you begin charging it.
All right. And for one to register, your business should reach a threshold of $1 million.
1 million. But there is also another provision
that is by force, mandatory. You must do it, whether you like it or not. Very well.
So, but we had also made provision for those who want to come in because of the benefits that they are seen in the tax. They can come in and register voluntarily if they have 500,000 and above, but under 1 million. 1 million above is compulsory, but 500 to somewhere under 1 million, you would be allowed to register voluntarily, subject to certain conditions that we would, you know, need to do some checks to ensure that you will be able to comply with all the obligations.
So there are two categories. The mandatory, which you need to reach a threshold of 1 million and above, and the one which is voluntary,
500,000,
meaning 500,000
exactly,
and above if you feel like.
Exactly.
And the others who do not reach this category don't need to register.
Don't need to. We don't want people that are selling Grts or people that are selling bananas on the streets. We don't want them to.
Like the Fana selling the Fogajai on the street there.
We don't want. They cannot charge VAT. So we want to make that very, very clear from the outset, that definitely they have nothing to do as far as the charging of VAT and the filing of a return is concerned. Those responsibilities are entirely taken off their heads.
All right, that brings me back to the question I was asking. Is VAT transferable?
Okay, transferability, it depends on, you know, how you approach the question, because all indirect taxes, VAT, like any other, you know, indirect, VAT is an indirect tax. And the reason why we call them indirect tax is because, you know, you can sift the burden. The burden is siftable. But for the income tax that you pay from your salaries, you know, the income that you earn, I cannot pay your tax for that income. That is just, you know, specific to you as Malik. So that's the difference between what is direct and what is indirect. It is transferable, but the good thing about the design aspect of the VAT is that what is supposed to be transferred is what comes under the, you know, input tax credit mechanism. Because what they were supposed to transfer is the tax they had paid when they imported, the VAT they paid when they imported, and the VAT they are paying when they are buying locally. That's what they should have shifted to you. But now that is coming in the form of a refund that is through the input tax credit mechanism. When they file their return, they indicate all these VAT they had paid, and they would get a refund. That's how it works.
Sales tax is spontaneous, meaning that you pay sales tax on the spot when you make the purchase, right? Unlike VAT, when is VAT payable?
Well, VAT, let me make one important clarification here. VAT and sales tax, both of them are monthly. They are payable monthly. And then the deadline for the payment is the 15th day of the month following the end of the month that we are talking about. For instance, we are now in July. So sales tax for July is, you know, is the deadline for the payment of the sales tax for July is 15th of August. So at the end of every month, you are given 15 extra days to be able to effect your payment. So if you don't effect your payment by the deadline, so that's the time penalties and interest would have to, attract. So that is why it is important that taxpayers understand when the deadlines for the payments, are so that they are able to pay on time to avoid paying the tax and paying penalty and interest. Like I said, both of them are paid monthly. And for the VAT also, it's the same thing. It's going to be a monthly tax. At the end of every month, they are expected to file a return. And basically, how much you pay is an issue here. I've been talking about refund, refund, refund. When it comes to payment now, they would complete their return. On the return, they will show how much they collected from customers who bought their goods or their services. They would also indicate on the return how much VAT they had paid as business people. So now what they pay to Gambia Revenue Authority is the difference between what they collected from their customers and what they had paid themselves as VAT. If what they collected from customers is more than what they had paid, then they would pay to GRA. But if the reverse occurs, GRA is owing them money. And if GRA owes them money, then the refund would not be done immediately. It is, carried forward up to the third tax period, up to after 3 months. If after 3 months you are still in that situation where GRA is owing you, then you can submit an application for a refund to be given. And the Commissioner General is obliged to give that return within 2 months, failing which the Commissioner General will now have to pay you interest on the amount that should have been refunded.
Will this not lead to some people doing some unscrupulous businesses? In other words, not giving you a correct accounting scenario.
Malik,
how would you check on that?
Malik, that is very true. So that is why VAT requires strengthening your administration capacity. You must have a very strong, enforcement capacity. You must have a very strong audit capacity. So in other words, the businesses, we are not going to leave them on their own. The tax system is self-assessment based. The onus is on the taxpayers to file their returns and tell us this is their liability. That's how our system works. It's not us doing that. They would do that and come and say, this is what I am supposed to pay. And on the basis of that, internally, we can subject that to audit based on the kind of risks that are presented. Because if you are in a line of business, you are not there alone. So if what you are giving us is fundamentally, different from what others are giving, it sends the signal that there is something that is going on, something wrong. So in other words, it all comes back to now GRA increasing its, level of preparedness in terms of dealing with situations like that. We should expect them, definitely.
This is the interview. My guest is S.I. Jallo. He's just been promoted to Commissioner Domestic Tax at the Gambia Revenue Authority, and before them he was Director Technical Service and VAT Project Manager. He still is VAT Project Manager. Esa, to send a very strong message to unscrupulous practices, I'm sure the Gambia Revenue Authority will put some stringent measures, even effecting some fines to make sure that people do not go about messing up with government's revenue.
Malik, I think that is very important. I first want to start by saying this. Taxation or paying tax is one of the most noble things that any citizen can do. It is not money that disappears in the air. Because if you turn around, there are many things that you see which you yourself did not provide directly. For instance, people are enjoying GRTS. The payment of the salaries of GRTS, the equipment that you have here, is provided by government. If government did not get the money, how can they provide this kind of essential services for the citizens? There is policing going on. The military is around. There are health services going on. We have seen the improvement in the roads. So we have to recognize the fact that if we don't pay our taxes, we are constraining government in terms of its ability to provide all these kind of things that are very essential to our survival, that are very essential to our welfare. So that is how noble the payment of tax is. So that is why, I want to appeal. I want to use this interview to appeal to all Gambian taxpayers to tell them that definitely for us, it is about using our offices to help them in as much as we can to make sure that we facilitate their compliance. Our doors are open. Let them come forward if they have any problems. We will also intensify our engagements in terms of physically visiting them,